It's not Jada no more, right?
I don't know, is it?
Nah, it ain't.
That was fun.
Imagine this, a Friday night no different from any other. You stand in front of your mirror looking at the reflection of someone you've become, a person full of excitement and hope. You've been waiting for this moment, looking forward to a night that could change everything. A date. A potential new chapter in your life, where anything seems possible. You check your outfit one last time, making sure everything is perfect. A deep breath in, followed by a steady exhale. You glance at your phone. The screen lights up with a message. The words are simple, yet full of promise. Can't wait to see you tonight. You smile, your heart racing, not just because of the excitement of the date, but because of what might lie ahead. This could be the start of something beautiful, something you've always dreamed of, a connection, a romance, perhaps even a future. You grab your purse, making sure you've got everything you need. You step outside, feeling the cool night air on your skin. The city around you is alive, but there's a calmness in the air, as if the whole world is holding its breath, waiting for you to make your way towards something new. And then you wonder, what could possibly go wrong? After all, you're prepared. You've done everything right. You're meeting in a public place, somewhere safe. There's no reason to think otherwise. It's a fresh start, a hopeful evening, a chance to connect with someone new. You feel the rush of possibility, the thrill of what could be. It's the kind of night that feels full of potential, the kind that makes you believe anything can happen. Good things, exciting things. Little do you know, this night will take a turn you never expected. A turn that will lead you straight into a nightmare you couldn't have imagined. What started as an evening filled with hope will soon become the start of something much darker, a tragedy that will steal everything from you in an instant. This is the true story of Nadroma Ajay, Nana, a young woman full of life, full of dreams, and filled with ambition. At just 24 years old, she was building her future, one she was so excited to share with the world. She had a family, a community, and a career she was so proud of. Her life, full of potential, was just beginning to unfold. But one man with a decision so chilling would destroy it all. His actions, hidden beneath a mask of kindness, would tear through everything Nana had worked for. The evening that started with excitement, filled with optimism, would quickly become the beginning of a nightmare, a life-ending tragedy, one that no one saw coming. Welcome to City Crime Tales. If you're new to the channel, I'm glad you're here. Before we dive deep into today's case, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss the true stories that matter. They're gripping, they're real, and they could change the way you view the world around you. Now, let's get into the story of Nana, a woman who was living the life she had always dreamed of, only for it to be taken away in the most shocking way possible. It was a Friday evening in Cincinnati, Ohio, when Nadroma Ajay, Nana, as she was affectionately known by those closest to her, was preparing for what seemed like an ordinary date. But for Nana, nothing about her life was ordinary. At just 24 years old, she had already made a name for herself as a talented cosmetologist. She wasn't just a stylist, she was a creator, a woman who shaped beauty with her own hands. Her salon, Hoof Styles, wasn't just a business. It was a manifestation of her passion, where she poured her creativity into making others feel beautiful and confident. She had always believed in the transformative power of beauty, not just the physical transformation but the way it made people feel. Nana had a way of making every client feel like they were the most important person in the room, and her work spoke volumes. With every new hairstyle, every color change, and every cut, she was transforming lives, one customer at a time. Hoof Styles wasn't just a salon. It was a space where art met self-care, where Nana's soul was as present in every strand of hair as the scissors in her hands. Born on March 17, 1995, to Pastor Glitter S.O. Ajay and First Lady Gloria, Nana's upbringing was rooted deeply in faith, love, and community. Her parents were pillars of their church, respected and admired by everyone around them. From a young age, Nana was taught the values of compassion, service, and dedication, principles that would guide her throughout her life. But there was something special about Nana. While she respected the traditions of her family, she wasn't content with simply following in their footsteps. She knew she was meant for more. She was destined to carve out her own space in the world, a space where her talents would shine and her dreams would take flight. Unlike some who might have chosen a safer, more predictable path, Nana stepped out with courage, boldly pursuing her vision and ambitions. She knew that her skills, her creativity, and her dreams could change the world. And with every step she took, she proved herself right. Her smile lit up rooms. Her energy was infectious. Nana wasn't just a businesswoman, she was an innovator, a dreamer. Whether she was running her salon, modeling for fashion brands, or collaborating with fellow entrepreneurs, she was always pushing boundaries. Her Instagram feed was a reflection of her diverse talents. One day showcasing her latest hair creations, the next sharing her modeling work, or promoting the collaborations she was so passionate about. She was always on the go, always growing, always evolving. There was no one way for Nana. She believed in exploring all paths that life offered her. And it wasn't just about looking good, it was about feeling good. She believed deeply that confidence came from within, and she made it her mission to help others discover their own power, their own beauty, through the art she mastered. Her work as a cosmetologist wasn't just about giving people a new look, it was about giving them a sense of empowerment, a way to feel like the best version of themselves. Nana's ambition wasn't limited to just beauty. She knew the importance of preparation, of being equipped to handle whatever challenges life threw at her. That's why she trained as a pharmacy technician. Because Nana understood the value of being versatile, of having multiple skills to navigate life's twists and turns. She wasn't just thinking about the now, she was preparing herself for a future filled with infinite possibilities. Tonight, though, it wasn't about business. It wasn't about skills or planning for the future. Tonight, she was simply excited about something else. Someone else. Someone she'd been talking to for a while. A man she hoped might be the beginning of something new. A date that could lead to a connection, a bond, or maybe even a future. As she stood in front of her bedroom mirror, adjusting her dress, Nana could feel the flutter of excitement in her chest. A quick glance at her phone confirmed what she'd already known. He'd texted. His message was simple, yet it carried weight. Can't wait to see you tonight. She smiled at the message, feeling that familiar rush of excitement, her heart quickening just a little. Maybe this was the night, the start of something new, something beautiful. Her fingers tapped quickly on the phone to reply, then satisfied, she slipped the phone back into her purse. With a last glance in the mirror, she stepped out into the cool night air, ready to meet someone new. Nana arrived at the restaurant first, just as she always did. Punctuality was important to her, something she'd learned from her father, a man who valued time and the respect it conveyed. She walked through the door of the downtown restaurant, a cozy yet modern spot known for its intimate setting and sophisticated vibe. It was the perfect place for a first date, public, yet still private enough to allow for deep conversation. Nana had been anticipating this night for weeks. She had a feeling, a quiet hope that maybe, just maybe, this could lead to something meaningful. Something real. The man she'd been talking to had seemed perfect. Thoughtful messages, respectful conversations, and just the right amount of humor. They'd connected through mutual interests and shared dreams, and she felt an undeniable pull toward him. The kind of pull that makes your heart beat a little faster when you think about the possibilities. As she waited, Nana checked her phone for the umpteenth time. Her friends had been sending her encouraging messages all evening. Have fun tonight, but be safe, one friend had written. Another, text me when you get home. The familiar words from her friends filled her with warmth. They cared for her, watched out for her, and she knew she could always count on them to have her back. She smiled, feeling reassured by their concern. Just then the door opened, and in walked the man she had been waiting for. He was tall, dressed in a well-tailored suit, with a confident yet easygoing demeanor. He stood in the doorway for a moment, scanning the room before his eyes landed on her. He smiled, and for a moment, Nana felt a warmth spread through her chest. He walked towards her with a casual grace, his smile wide and genuine. As he reached her table, he extended his hand, his voice warm and welcoming. "Nana, it's great to finally meet you in person. You look even more beautiful than in your pictures." Nana stands up, her heart skipping a beat as she takes his hand. Her smile widens as she greets him. She blushed at the compliment, feeling both a sense of flattery and relief. His charm was undeniable and she felt an immediate connection. They exchanged pleasantries, both settling into the comfortable rhythm of the evening as the conversation flowed effortlessly. She had expected a little nervousness on her part, but it never came. They were both at ease. For the first hour, everything felt just right. They laughed at each other's jokes, shared stories, and discovered just how much they had in common. He listened intently when she talked about her work, her passion for her salon, and her desire to grow as both a businesswoman and a person. She felt he genuinely appreciated her drive, her energy, her spirit. And as she spoke about her family, her roots, her upbringing, she saw the way his eyes softened, as if he understood the importance of those values in her life. Everything about the evening felt right. The setting was perfect. The conversation was flowing. He was attentive, kind, and seemed genuinely interested in her life, her story. Nana couldn't help but feel like she had made the right choice in agreeing to meet him. For the first time in a while, she allowed herself to imagine what could come next. Then he suggested they order drinks. "What's your favorite drink?" he asked, a glint of curiosity in his eyes. Nana, trusting him, picked a cocktail she knew well. Something familiar, something she felt comfortable with. He smiled and ordered the same, claiming that he trusted her taste. The drinks arrived quickly, garnished with colorful fruit, just as she'd imagined. They toasted to new beginnings, to fresh starts, to what could be a blossoming connection. Nana took her first sip, savoring the sweet, familiar taste of the drink. For a moment, everything felt as it should. Nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing to suggest that this would be anything other than a wonderful night. But just moments after she took her first sip, something didn't feel quite right. Nana's initial warmth from the drink began to shift. She felt a subtle tingling sensation that wasn't from the alcohol. Her vision began to blur, the room feeling suddenly too bright, then too dim. She paused, trying to shake off the odd sensation, but it only intensified. She tried to ignore it, at first. It was probably just the drink, she thought. She wasn't a heavy drinker, and maybe she just hadn't eaten enough. But soon, her body began to betray her. Her hands trembled slightly as she set her glass down. Her legs felt heavy beneath her, as if the ground was pulling her down. The excitement that had filled her moments before began to turn into confusion. The warmth in her chest wasn't the same as before. It felt more like a fog, something clouding her senses, making it harder to focus. Nana's mind was racing, but her body wasn't responding the way it should. The tingling sensation she'd felt moments before was now spreading through her arms and legs. Her fingers trembled as she reached for her drink, but she couldn't steady her hand. She took another sip, hoping it would help, but the familiar taste no longer gave her the comfort it had moments earlier. It tasted wrong, too bitter, too sharp. The calmness she had felt earlier was slowly being replaced with a creeping unease. She tried to ignore it, trying to push the sensation away. This couldn't be happening, not now, not here, on a night that had seemed so perfect. But the room, it began to feel like it was closing in on her. The laughter of other diners, once a soft background hum, now sounded distant, almost muffled. Her vision wavered and the light seemed too bright, then too dim. The world was no longer in sharp focus. It felt as though she was slipping out of control. Her mind was screaming for clarity, but her body wasn't listening. It felt like the ground beneath her was shifting. The weight of her limbs, once light and energized, now felt like lead. Her head swirled and panic began to creep into her chest. What was happening to her? She had been fine just moments ago. This wasn't supposed to happen. She tried to speak, to ask him what was wrong, but the words stuck in her throat, heavy and out of reach. He watched her, calm and collected, as though he had been waiting for this moment. His eyes met hers, and in that fleeting second, Nana realized something wasn't right. She wasn't sure what it was. Was it the way he was looking at her? Or was it something deeper, an instinct telling her that he wasn't who he appeared to be? Nana tried to ask him for help, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't feel right," she managed to say, her words slurring ever so slightly. She reached for her phone on the table, her hands shaking as she struggled to steady herself. She tried to unlock it, to text a friend, to call for help, but her fingers wouldn't cooperate. The phone felt heavier than it should, slipping from her hand, landing with a soft thud on the table. Her mind was trying to process what was happening, but it was becoming more and more difficult to keep track of reality. She looked at him for help, her eyes wide with fear. She needed someone to act, to help. But the man, he didn't move. He didn't say a word. Instead, he just sat there watching her, his expression a mask of calm detachment. No panic. No concern. It was as if he had been expecting this. What kind of man could sit there watching a woman struggle like this and not do anything? What kind of man, knowing that she was in distress, could simply remain silent? What was going through his mind as she fought for control over her own body? Her head spun faster now. The edges of her vision blurred into darkness. Every movement felt slow, as if the world was shifting in slow motion. Nana tried to stand, to gather the strength to ask for help, but her legs betrayed her. She collapsed back into the chair, her body refusing to obey her mind. She was losing control. And still the man sat there, unbothered, unmoved. The suffocating realization hit her. There was no one here to save her. What was happening to her? Was this a cruel joke? Or had she unknowingly stepped into something much darker, something that could not be undone? Up on her, and still, he did nothing. What was he thinking as she fought for air? What was going through his mind as she slipped further and further from consciousness? This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a random event. This was a man, intentional, cold, watching her slip away. Watching her suffer. The truth was becoming clearer by the second. He had poisoned her. He had drugged her drink, and now he was watching the result unfold. The drink that had seemed so innocent, the drink she thought she could trust, was turning into a weapon, and she was the victim. Nana was slipping. Slowly, surely she was losing her grip on reality, on life. And he was sitting there doing nothing, watching it all happen. A predator in plain sight, pretending to be the gentleman he was not. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the man shifted in his seat. His gaze met hers. He noticed her struggle, her body barely holding on. It was then that he finally took action. But not to help. No. His first move wasn't to call for help. It wasn't to rush to her aid. Instead, it was to call for help himself. Who was he calling? Was it for help? Or was it for his own safety? His eyes flicker between Nana and his phone, his hand steady as he speaks into it. The words he says, the calmness in his voice, it's all too much. He knew exactly what he was doing. He made the call, but by the time the paramedics arrived, it was too late. Too much time had passed. Nana had been without oxygen for far too long. Her heart, weak from the poison, was barely beating. She was beyond help now, and no one would ever know what really happened. Not until it was too late. The question now remains, why? Why did he do this? What did he think he was going to gain? What twisted part of him could allow this to happen and simply walk away, leaving her to die? The horror of this date, the betrayal, was only just beginning to unfold. Nana, the woman who had walked into that restaurant full of life and hope, was now unconscious. Her body had already begun to shut down from the overwhelming effects of the drug that had been introduced into her system without her knowledge. The sedative had worked faster than anyone could have anticipated. Her heart was barely beating, her breathing shallow, and every second without proper medical attention was pushing her closer to the edge. Her father, Pastor Glitter Soj, had always taught her to stay strong, to carry herself with faith and dignity. Her mother, First Lady Gloria, had raised her to be kind, generous, and trusting. But none of that could save her from this night. The night when someone she trusted, someone she believed in, chose to destroy everything she had worked so hard for. Nana's family, Her parents, her friends, had no idea what had happened that night. They had no idea that the man she trusted was a predator, someone who had lured her into a trap, someone who had drugged her, watched her lose control, and done nothing to help. His betrayal wasn't just a crime of opportunity, it was cold, calculated, premeditated. He stood there, unbothered, observing the scene unfolding as though it were of no consequence. His actions had led to this moment, yet there he was, not even acknowledging the gravity of what had happened. Was it guilt? Regret? Or simply indifference? Pastor Ajay and First Lady Gloria walked into the room, their faces filled with the hope that maybe, just maybe, their daughter was still fighting. But that hope was quickly shattered. Nana lay unconscious, her body connected to life support machines, her heart barely beating. The room felt cold, silent, except for the steady rhythm of the machines that kept her alive, for now. After hours of fighting, the doctors came to speak with her parents. Their words were a cruel blow. There's nothing more we can do. Her brain shows no activity. The lack of oxygen has caused irreversible damage. Her family, devout, loving, faithful, now faced the most impossible decision a parent could ever face: to let go, to say goodbye. There would be no miracles, no recovery, no second chances. Nana's life was taken from her, not just by the man who drugged her, but by the moments lost, the chances never given. The seconds that ticked by without intervention had sealed her fate. Nana was gone. And yet there was no justice. No accountability. The man who had watched her die, who had planned and executed this horrific act, was still free. How could he just walk away from it all? How could he sit there, so unaffected by the suffering he caused? The man who had taken Nana's life remained a ghost, a predator walking among the living, his identity unknown, his crimes still unresolved. And so Nana's story, her light, was extinguished far too soon. A woman full of dreams, full of life, taken away by someone who had no right to her trust, no right to her love, no right to take her future from her. And as her family mourned, as her friends grieved, the questions remained. Where was the justice? Why was no one held accountable? Nana's story doesn't end here. It continues through those who remember her, those who share her story, those who fight for the truth, for justice. Her light may have been stolen from her, but we must ensure it doesn't fade into the darkness. Nana's life was cut short, her dreams stolen, and her family left to pick up the pieces of a tragedy that should never have happened. She was more than just a victim. She was a bright light in her community, a woman full of potential and promise. But her story didn't have to end like this. There are countless others out there who are just as vulnerable, who trust the wrong people, and who find themselves in situations they never saw coming. Nana's story is one we must remember, not just for its heartbreak, but for the lessons it teaches us about trust, safety, and the importance of never turning a blind eye. If there's one thing we can do to honor her memory, it's to stay vigilant. To look out for the signs, to trust our instincts, and to make sure we're protecting those around us. If you've ever felt unsafe or uncomfortable on a date, if you know someone who has, or if you want to help prevent another tragedy like this from happening, share this video. Let Nana's story reach as many people as possible. Because the more people who know the truth, the safer we can all be. Remember, it only takes one person to make a difference. Share this story. Share it with your friends, your family, anyone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more important stories like this. Your voice matters. Your actions matter. And together, we can make sure stories like Nana's don't fade into the background. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share, because together we can make a difference. Stay vigilant, stay connected, and stay safe.